And it's the lightning round of Ask the Inspector. This is the penultimate episode of Ask the Inspector prior to Scott's departure for Russia, coming up in a matter of days. The lightning round we do every Tuesday for 1 hour. Scott answers all questions in 3 minutes or less. As usual, Scott is extremely busy, having just published 2 articles, for example, that one in Consortium News, and a very provocative one in our substack, Fuck You, Elon. I don't know how to say the asterisks out loud, so I hope you don't mind me saying the word I believe it's supposed to represent. You're fed up with Elon, huh?
Yeah, look, he's a joke. He's a joke. Twitter's a joke. It's, and he's a hypocrite. And I'm tired of waiting for Elon Musk to do the right thing. He's not going to do the right thing. He's incapable of doing the right thing. He doesn't even know what the right thing is. He's confused about what free speech means. He clearly doesn't know what a free speech absolutist means. And so, it's just, yeah.
And he hasn't even told you, or he or anybody from Twitter hasn't even specified your alleged violation this time. Is that correct?
No, there's no tweet. They haven't said this tweet. They said you have violated Twitter rules. And
without saying what rule was violated or
what the violation
was. Violation is. That is like the sickest version of censorship, just about.
Yeah, but how do you appeal? That's the thing. Yeah. How do you appeal this?
Yeah.
And that's the point. And then, I'm not going to give away confidences, but I was in conversation with people who, I have reason to believe that when they say they have the inside scoop about what was happening, that was indeed what was happening. And, I thought I was NAFO swarmed. I mean, that's what the running narrative was, that NAFO had swarmed and tricked the algorithm but that should have, at a minimum got my account back when I appealed. Here, though, that's not the case. What I was told is that Elon Musk hates Alex Jones and won't allow Alex Jones back onto Twitter. So much for free speech. And the reason why is that Alex Jones, look, there's controversy here. The Sandy Hook thing, he was out there attacking the parents and accusing it of being a scam, of them overplaying, etc. There was a defamation lawsuit, which when I look at it, seems to have taken a shortcut to get the defamation, skipping a very important constitutional due process aspect. But that's the court business. That's between Alex and the court. The point is, Alex apologized about this. He said, I was wrong. How many people do you know out there who are that big of who say, I was wrong, I apologize? He did it. I have yet to hear apologies from people like Anthony Blinken for apologizing to the people of Japan for failing to acknowledge that it was the United States that dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that he sought to exploit to make a political point, et cetera. So, and apparently my going on Alex Jones.
It shouldn't be Elon Musk's role to punish Alex Jones anyway. I mean, what does he have to do?
No, not if he's a free speech absolutist.
Yeah.
But Elon said,
and you by extension, you went on the Alex Jones show and just did an interview
about nuclear disarmament. It's not like I went on the Alex Jones show and said Sandy Hook's a fraud. No. It's still that that's free speech. But I could understand people get. I went on to talk about nuclear disarmament and trying to have a campaign to save the world. So I'm avoiding the word you, Elon. And then I held my dying. I don't mean to minimize that, except to point out that his wife says bullshit. You weren't holding the kid. I was. It doesn't matter. The kid died. Sudden infant death syndrome, tragedy. I'm not here to make light of it, and I'm also very sympathetic to how emotional that is to people. I cut people all sorts of slack when you get into, grieving and things like, especially about a child. So I'm not mad at Elon about that. But I did point out the hypocrisy of a guy claiming to care so much about children, and yet you sent $100 million to the Ukrainian government, Petro Poroshenko, saying that I will make the the children of the Donbass cower in a basement, and then sent artillery shells that killed 130 of them. And you care about children, you lying sack of hypocritical shit. And then he turns around and he sends up Starlink. And they know what Starlink's being used for. They know that it's being used to target, and they know that they're sending HIMARS using Starlink at civilian infrastructure in the Donbass, killing more children. So, hey, Elon Musk, fuck you and your children. Fuck you, Elon. Don't pretend to care about something when you don't. Because if you care about kids, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, pal. You're killing kids. You, Elon. If there could be a legal case put forward, you would be complicit in it because you have provided the mechanisms that facilitate the death of children. You know it. You continue to do it. And you banned me from Twitter because I had the gall to come out and say, gosh, I want to get rid of nuclear weapons. So, yeah, fuck you, Elon.
Well, so much for the asterisks. It's not as if we have
broke my will, Jeff. You broke my will.
It's not as if we have an overabundance of experts speaking out for nuclear disarmament. So, I mean, it should be the most important thing. This is Daniel Ellsberg week. Many of us who have been inspired by him and who admire him greatly are participating in one way or another. He's dying of pancreatic cancer. And this week, rather tonight, what is it? Today, sorry, where I am, it's today. And also Friday night, we'll be paying tribute to him. Yep. And DanielEllsbergWeek.org. There's a website set up specifically for this.
Yeah, the Veterans of Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, VIPS, that I'm a member of, gave him the Sam Adams Award, which is their annual award for, for speaking truth to power, et cetera. So they accelerated the process. It was approved and it's been given to him. So, while he is still able to understand and recognize the recognition that he's been given, that's been done. And I think this week is also timed to take advantage of the fact that despite his declining health, he's still cognizant of what's happening. So my understanding is that he is following everybody who's participating, and he is deeply appreciative of it.
Well, that's great to hear. That's the way to pay tribute to somebody while they're still alive.
While they're still alive. Damn right.
Absolutely. And I don't know if the word is ironic or not, but it's something about your trip to Russia seems awfully significant. You're one of the most important, if not the most important, Daniel Ellsberg disciple. And at this time, you are on the eve of that trip. And he's been talking about the threat of nuclear weapons for many years.
Yeah, and I mean, some people are asking me, why you doing this? You're going to just, put the lightning rod back up. The government's going to come after you and all that stuff. And the definition of insanity is somebody doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. And of course, as Jeff, we burned ourselves out trying to stop a war in 2002, 2003. I know I paid a heavy price. My family paid a heavy price for the retribution of an ungrateful government. And I don't imagine my government's going to be any more grateful for this endeavor. But I take my lead from Daniel Ellsberg, who was marching up the courthouse steps, going to a trial that could have put him in jail for the rest of his life. And they said, there it is. They said, aren't you afraid about going to prison? Wouldn't you go to prison to help end this war? There it is, guys. This is why you do what you do, because Daniel Ellsberg set the standard. It's a gold standard, and you have to do what you have to do. You have to pay the price that has to be paid to put yourself in a position to end injustice, to end unjust wars, to end Vietnam War, to end Russophobia, to end the arms race, to stop a nuclear war.
Thank you, Daniel Ellsberg. Ask the Inspector is dedicated to you.
Yes, it is.
Let's go to the questions from our beloved audience. First from Peter Oles in Berlin. Why is the world so silent about the most disgusting massacre in the world's history made by Ukrainians against Poles? Does the world know about massacres in Volhynia and eastern Galicia in 1943 through 45?
The world should know about it, but they don't. Look, Peter. I'm going to be dead honest. As much as I claim to be a historian and I follow this stuff, when this Ukraine-Russian conflict started, I didn't have a clue. I vaguely knew who Bandera was because of the CIA aspect of it, but I didn't know about Volhynia. I had to study it. I watched the Poles made a movie, an awful movie. I mean, when I say awful, it was actually well done, but horrible movie about the massacres and just how arbitrary and bloody and deadly they were, and the slaughter of women and children, old men by Ukrainian nationalists just because they were Poles. And I think it was 110,000 people were killed from 43 to 44. Or also what happened to the Russians, 200,000 Russian civilians were slaughtered by the Banderists. Tens of thousands of Jews were slaughtered by the Banderists. But one of the things that stopped people from pursuing this is the fact that Zelensky and the Banderist regime in power in Ukraine today have been lionized in the West. We're not allowed to ask these questions. Nobody's interested in learning the truth. All we want to be told is these are the defenders of democracy standing up to the evil Russian threat. And that's all we're allowed to talk about. We're not allowed to raise our hand and say, hey, that patch on his arm, isn't that the same patch used by the Dillenbergers guys who were banging in heads? Crazy stuff.
Okay. Andre from Chicago, according to a U.S. military insider and exopolitics.org, a space ark is buried in Ukraine's Oleski sand desert near the city of Kherson. Do you know anything about it, Scott?
No, but I'm encouraging the First Guards Tank Army to immediately advance on the Oleski sand desert, take control of it so we can excavate the space ark. I don't know anything about it, and I don't know who the U.S. military insider is and all that, but hey, if it's there, let's find it. That'd be cool.
It sounds like you think Andre might be wearing a tinfoil hat. Am I reading into it too much?
Andre. I'm saying that maybe the U.S. military insider and whoever wrote the exopolitics.org articles might be wearing a tinfoil hat.
Oh, okay. That's much different. Andre is just asking about it.
He's just asking the question.
To confirm his suspicion that they are wearing a tinfoil hat. Got it. All right, let's move on to the next question from our friend Karl Dahl in Greece. In February, Lavrov went to Sudan to assist with economic aid and develop a naval base. Did this spur the U.S. to go into a stoking mood lately? Rival factions trying to work out peace agreements since 2019 are suddenly in war mode again.
I will say this. If there's trouble anywhere in the world, the CIA is involved.
Is that the entirety of your answer, or is that just a pause?
That's the entirety. The CIA is behind this. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. There you go. Less is more.
I just don't want to get whipped.
Well, you had 2 minutes and 52 seconds to spare on that one, but we might give you an extra time on one of the questions
Thank you.
In exchange for that. Robert from Nottingham. Last Thursday, the 20th of April, the Daily Telegraph headline, I think many others too, was Russian spy ships threatened to sabotage UK energy supply, saying Scandinavian broadcasters identified a possible spy ship. This story was also all over mainstream media. Right, it was. My guess is that it's just more anti-Russian psyops. What do you think, Scott?
Let's not pretend that the Russians don't have spy ships. They do. Let's not pretend that the Russians don't do surveys of energy infrastructure. They do. Let's understand that we are in a very sensitive time where a $12 billion piece of critical infrastructure that was 51% owned by a Russian shareholder was destroyed by the United States in a blatant violation of international law and literally an act of war against a German ally. What is Russia up to? I don't know. Call the intelligence service, SVR. Ask him. I will tell you that intelligence collection takes place on a regular basis by everybody out there. And if you're going to get paranoid about that, then stop being hypocritical. So Daily Telegraph or the Times or whoever wrote that piece should be talking about British efforts. What have British people been doing? What was the role of Britain in knocking out the Nord Stream? What was Liz Truss's text message about? These are questions you should be asking about real attacks, not hypothetical or theoretical attacks. So yeah, I'd say it's more of a psyop than something real. But I'm not going to pretend that these ships couldn't be spy ships. They probably are, especially the one that had an armed guy on it. You know?
Savina in Bulgaria. Have you read Antony Blinken's 1987 book, Ally versus Ally? Savina needs a thought on that. She needs it. Don't let her down, Scott. What's your thought?
Well, Antony Blinken was an idiot in 1987, so I wouldn't read his book then. He's an idiot today, and I probably won't read his book now. If I were to read his book now, it would just be trying to get some insight into what this idiot's thinking. I mean, this is truly one of the worst Secretary of States we've ever had. Totally unqualified for the job. A man who got it simply because he kissed up to Hillary Clinton. Pure and simple. He's not qualified for this job. He wasn't qualified to be National Security Advisor prior to that. And yet here he is directing the foreign policy of the United States. As Sun Tzu said, know your enemy. And maybe if you want to get to know who Antony Blinken again is, what kind of enemy he is, because he's an enemy of the American people. He's not here serving the American people. He's serving the interests of some, cabal of neoliberals who are, using the United States as a vehicle to, imprint their vision of the world on a world that doesn't want to be imprinted by the American vision. So maybe read the book to find out. But if I had a lot of time and not much that I wanted to do, wanted to really be dumbed down, if I were going to go on vacation, I wouldn't buy that book. But maybe some other people will. I'll look into it. I apologize. It was a serious question, and you deserve a serious answer. I'm being a little too derisive here. I promise you this. I'm not going to buy the book, but I will read up on the book. I'll find out what it's about, and I'll get back to you.
All right. I don't think it's particularly derisive to explain why you're not interested in reading that book. How about another question that mentions Blinken? Would you mind, Scott? Would that be okay?
Ouch.
Stellar Crete from Yucaipa, California.